Everybody's speaking all the time about artificial intelligence, and of course, artificial intelligence is very well present in astronomy. How do astronomers use artificial intelligence? How can we use artificial intelligence to be more efficient in astronomy? In this video, I'm going to try to cover some of the philosophical points about artificial intelligence, and I'll give you a couple of useful, hopefully, use cases. Welcome back to Boring Astronomy. I'm Alessandro, your astronomer next door.
Boring astronomy.
In case you wonder, I'm Alessandro. I've been an astronomer for the past 20 years, and I'm here trying to share with you something that I've been learning along the way. So there's a few things that people tend to comment when speaking about artificial intelligence. And one is the hallucinations, and the other one is copying what is already available on the web. So for the first case, hallucinations, there was in one podcast I heard someone saying that an artificial intelligence which fails 1% of the time is actually more dangerous than an artificial intelligence that fails 50% of the time. Why? Because if the failing rate or the hallucination rate is 50% of the time, you start to wonder, you are always wondering, is this fooling me? But if only is 1%, you start to rely on it and you start to trust it a lot. And so your defenses are going to be low the moment the artificial intelligence really fails. So how do you defend from this? Well, you defend from this remembering that the artificial intelligence is sitting next to you, doesn't replace you, doesn't replace your brain. This is one of those things that I'm going to try to make clear all across this video. The second thing, which is a little bit more complicated, is does the artificial intelligence just replicate something that it has read somewhere on the web? Yes, that is actually a danger, and that is a possibility. Then again, it sort of saves you some of the time of searching on Google and looking for the information yourself. So to some extent, in this case, is your research assistant. I don't want to enter the topic of copyright here. This is out of the scope of this video. Here, I'm only speaking as a user. My feeling is artificial intelligence is a tool. Like, we moved from observing the sky only with the naked eye to use a telescope. We moved from analyzing the data by hand to using computers. Now we move from having to do a lot of search by hand to asking an artificial intelligence to do some part of the work for us. So this is a new research assistant, someone who works with us and next to us. The way I tend to see it is a research assistant which is available 24/7 and has infinite patience. Imagine going to someone and saying, listen, I understand it is Sunday and it's 11 in the morning and you would rather stay sipping your coffee and relax, but I just had this idea. Can you access this data and analyze it for me real quick? To an artificial intelligence, it's probably going to take 50 seconds, even less, and it's going to work, and the artificial intelligence is not going to complain. If it's a colleague of yours, probably is going to look at you like you're nuts, and the colleague of yours would actually be correct. So artificial intelligence is a very powerful tool, and yes, we can rely on it for a lot of things. So let me give you the two examples of how I use it. So this is my ChatGPT. Looks like it's very much a clean slate. I don't think I've used it under this account. I have my own account for which I must admit I pay. I am in no way related to OpenAI, but I'm giving the example with ChatGPT, and you can actually use whichever chatbot you prefer. I'm going to expand on it later, but let's see how it behaves with something. So the first use case I'm going to try to use is writing or knowledge, if you wish. And there's two ways I've been using it. So one way is blank page block. I have to write something, and actually literally the very first time I asked something to ChatGPT was I had to write an abstract for a conference at a Balocristian, and I was completely stuck. I didn't have a nice sentence to start my abstract. So I was like, okay, so ChatGPT, write a generic abstract for a conference. The first sentence, it was just the momentum I needed to start moving, and then I just used a part of that sentence, and then the rest of the abstract was something that I built completely from scratch. But this is something that can be useful for you. So for example, you can start with something very basic, like what is a Hertzsprung-Russell diagram? And I apologize, I never know how to spell Hertzsprung. So it is correcting me here with, so it's corrected Hertzsprung-Russell, and it explains the key features. Horizontal axis represents our surface temperature, decreasing from left. Main regions, main sequence, giants of giants, where it goes, why is it important? It helps classify stars based on their properties. So it's a nice explanation. We're going to dig on it. So let's and you see that it also asks you a follow-up question. So I think this is the way actually one should use this artificial intelligence, to have a conversation, right? So once you get something, you can iterate on the topic. But in this case, I'm going to sort of move away. So I'm going to ask it, can you write 200 words paragraph about the evolution of the sun? So you see that, again, in this case, the prompt is very generic, with the only specificity of the 200 words. Again, you may have a block, and you may want to have something that you want to try to play with. This is a beginning.
The sunlight will start flowing along. It began its journey about 4.6 billion. The gravity pulled mass together. And the science of stable hydrogen barriers. The hydrogen corrected gates of fusion slow score.
Well, okay. So, and you see that the tone is fine. So, what I think is actually very, very good, almost magic, and I find particularly useful, is to use ChatGPT as an editor. Sometimes, especially for us who are not native English speakers, sentences, spelling, or even the tone may not be completely correct. So I sometimes go ahead and say, just fix the tone for me. So in this case, I'm going to ask it, can you rephrase this paragraph to sound like an astronomy textbook?
So you see that now the sun's evolution follows a well-defined stellar life cycle determined by its moons. Approximately 4.6 billion years ago, it formed from the gravitational collapse of
Possibly because of my day job, I find this text much easier to read. But again, my bias. But you can see how beautiful and how useful this is. You can write in your own style, and you can say, okay, so now you fix it. I'm not saying that this is what you should do all the time. I think it is actually very useful for correcting grammar, but as I hope I'm insisting a lot on it, this doesn't replace your writing. So the idea, the main corpus of your writing should actually come from you. And this should be helpful to rephrase things that didn't come up right, or help moving out from a stall, right? The second case that I use a lot is programming. We astronomers have to program a lot. One joke that I tend to do is that we are data scientists in disguise. And what we can do is we can actually take a program and push it here and say, well, now you fix it. I have this program, doesn't work, you fix it. So just last week, literally last Saturday, I spent 2 hours saying with ChatGPT, saying, please, I have this program, I need to install it, I have no clue, there's no manual, help. And it guided me, and eventually we managed to do it. Let me give you an example, just since we are already doing this example on the Hertzsprung-Russell diagram. Can you please write a program which downloads the closest 1000 stars from Gaia DR3 and makes color magnitude diagram based on Gaia DR3 data. And in all its beauty, it understands that it needs to use AstroQuery, NumPy, Matplotlib, and this is something that very likely it would take me. This is something that would take the normal astronomer like 5 minutes. It took ChatGPT a few seconds. Let me just check this. This is terrible. And yes, in fairness, this could have been better. Let's try to improve it. Can you try to use only the stars with parallax over error larger than 20? And yes, it is modifying. And let's try to do this thing. Paste. Now we're going to put this on the desktop. ChatGPT Gaia. And now we open the terminal Conda activate 5 3 GT desktop Python we run it. There you go. And what I want you to see, first of all, it worked. Not only worked, but the program is honestly significantly better than what I would have written. What I would have written would have been the query and all the comments. No, never. I would have never written any comment. This is very astronomer. No astronomer would ever comment his or her code unless really needed. So not only it did the work it was supposed to do, but it did it well. So you have seen a couple of very basic examples, and this is something that I do most of the time, all the time. A lot of colleagues, I know that they do it a lot, and I suggest you give it a try yourself. What you shouldn't do, what you should never do, is to treat the chatbot as a search engine. That is just a waste. The ideal way of doing it, say, you try to have a back and forth. You ask something, you get something, and you go like, can you improve on this detail or this part or this part? And it will start doing it. Now, on one hand, remember, on the other side, you have a machine which is completely trained to do exactly this, providing you with information. So don't hold back. Keep doing it. Keep asking it things, because it's literally its job. On the other hand, you might have noticed that I ask things, please. I try to be kind, as if there was a real person on the other side. This is not because I'm crazy, but it's because I don't want to enter the habit of being rude if I am on a chat, because I may end up making the mistake of confusing a chat with a bot, with a chat with a person, and it would be bad being rude at a person. So it's easier to be kind at a machine rather than rude at a person. So just a little bit of kindness doesn't hurt. What I would suggest, if you haven't started, start. No matter what, there's a lot of chatbots out there, ChatGPT, Claude, DeepSeek, Mistral, you name it, Gemini. It doesn't really matter, as long as you start using it. And give it a week, 2 weeks, a month. Because at the end of the day, it is just a matter of getting used to it, getting used to having a research assistant which is available 24/7. And is always there, always patient, and replies always with something. Remember that hallucinations can always be a problem. Don't get too scared about the hallucinations though. Remember that it's a research assistant. So treat it as you would treat a colleague. A colleague can make a mistake. A colleague can be wrong. So if you would expect a colleague to be wrong, you can expect a machine to be wrong. And so don't have problems in challenging the machine or interacting with the machine. I think it is natural, especially at this point, to ask yourself, should I start with this or with that? Just start with whatever. And then you will just chat with someone else, and someone else will tell you, I've been using this other one, which worked for me super well. And so maybe because maybe in your group of people, everybody's using another one, you may decide to move. But for 90% of the usage, most of them work very, very well. There's a lot of more AI tools out there. Notebook LM, Julius AI, just the two that I know and that I used. And eventually I'll make videos about those. So what about you? Do you use them? Do you use AI? Do you use AI in the astronomy context? If you do, leave a note. And if you like the video, of course, click on like, click on subscribe, and I'll see you next time. For the meantime, get bored.